What's going on, guys? It's your boy Decoder, and welcome back to another episode of answering your ruling questions. Now, I have a couple of rulings lined up, and we're going to get right into them, but don't forget that if you want to take part in this series, leave your ruling questions in the comments of this video, and I do check those every single week. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, this first ruling question comes to us from Sif, and they ask, Coder, here is a question. If I use Union Carrier to equip a Pendulum Monster and place it in the Pendulum Zone, am I allowed to Pendulum Summon, or is it considered a regular spell/trap? So basically, when it comes to equipping Pendulum Monsters to a monster as an equip spell, it is equipped as just that, an equip spell. It is not considered to be a Pendulum Monster in the Pendulum Zone. In order for the spell trap zone on the left or on the right to become a Pendulum Zone, a Pendulum Monster specifically, needs to be placed there as a pendulum scale from your hand, or via a card effect such as, Wisdom Eye Magician or something like that. But if it's equipped via the effect of Union Carrier, it's considered an equipped spell, thus not being a pendulum monster in the pendulum scale, so you cannot use their pendulum effects or use them in order to pendulum summon. So this next question comes to us from David Katz, and they ask, Ghost Bell on Gamma. So I assume what they mean by this question is that they want to know if you're allowed to Ghost Bell the effect of Psyframe Gear Gamma if there is no Psyframe driver in the graveyard. So basically, the answer is yes, you are always allowed to Ghost Bell a Psyframe Gear Gamma even though there isn't a driver in the grave, and the reason why is because Gamma's effect can summon the driver from the hand, deck, or the graveyard, but it only does so when its effect would resolve, meaning that if you activate the Gamma and at the point where you activate Gamma there is no driver in the grave, that does not mean that a driver will not happen to be in the graveyard at the point where Gamma would resolve. So because there is a possibility that a driver would be in the graveyard at the point where Gamma would resolve, you are allowed to Bell it because there's still that possibility that maybe, just maybe, once the Gamma resolves, a driver will be in the grave and they will attempt to summon it from the graveyard. So for that reason, you can always Ghost Bell a Psyframe Gear Gamma. Alright, so this next ruling question comes to us from I'm Blue, and they ask, so if I control Tenyi Spirit Sahasrara and a non-effect monster, can my opponent use Comic Hand to steal my Sahasrara? I had this interaction happen to me on Dueling Book once. I was unsure whether Comic Hand targeted or not, since it only says equip. So basically, what I'm going to explain right now is true for all equip spells that equip themselves to a monster on the field. So every single equip spell that equips itself to a monster on the field targets. That is an inherent part of the equip spell mechanic. So say for example something as simple as Axe of Despair. It will target when it's being equipped to a monster. So for example, if you control Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, a monster that cannot be targeted by card effects, you cannot legally equip Axe of Despair to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon because it is unable to be targeted, and Axe of Despair, such as every other equip spell in the game, does target in order to equip itself to a monster. Alright, so this next question comes to us by J. Danilo Zuluaga, and they ask, the opponent controls Evil Twin Kiss-a-Kill. I activate Sky Striker Afterburners, then as Chainlink 2, my opponent activates the Kiss-a-Kill and summons Evil Twin Lilla. Lilla can activate its effects since it says if this card is special summoned while you control a Kiss-a-Kill monster or not. So basically, the Lilla has the effect where if it is summoned while you control Kiss-a-Kill, on resolution it will be able to activate its effect in order to destroy a card on the field. Basically, these cards that check if it was summoned at the same time as another card was on the field, it checks it after the entire chain resolves. So because the Lilla is summoned, but then before the chain has fully resolved, the Kiss-a-Kill is removed from the field, it's only after the chain has resolved that the Lilla will verify if the Kiss-a-Kill is on the field, and because the Kiss-a-Kill is not on the field at the point at which the Lilla would verify if the Kiss-a-Kill is there, because it's not there, the Lilla will not be able to activate its effect. So even though it was summoned while Kiss-a-Kill was on the field and then Kiss-a-Kill left the field, because after the chain has resolved, when the Lilla would verify if the Kiss-a-Kill is on field, because Kiss-a-Kill is not there, it will not be able to trigger its effect to destroy a card on the field. Alright, so this next ruling question comes to us from Hugo Cardenas, and they ask, if I have a Rusty Bardiche and I Fogblade it, can I use it as link material? So basically, the part of Rusty Bardiche's text that says that it cannot be used as link material is not part of the card's effect, it is however a condition text. So basically what this means is that a condition text will not be negated when a card's effects are negated, specifically because it is not considered to be an effect. Now, I know that it's hard to actually determine whether or not a card's text is a condition or part of an effect just by reading the card. My suggestion, in order to know whether or not a card's text is an effect or a condition, is to look it up on something like Wikipedia. I know it's not the most trustworthy source in terms of like looking up rulings and stuff like that, but websites such as Wikipedia do a very good job at explaining what kind of effects a card has. So if you look it up on the page, you'll see something along the lines of Rusty Bardiche's effects, and then it'll have the section that explains what effects are in order on the card's text. And as you can see, the last part of it, where it says that Rusty Bardiche cannot be used as link material, is considered a condition text, meaning that it will not be negated if it is negated via the effect of a card such as Fogblade. Alright, so this next ruling question comes to us from Martin Quinoez, and they ask, so if I have 2 Shaddoll monsters face down and my opponent activates Super Polymerization, is he able to fusion summon using my 2 face down monsters? So in my last video, I explained that the fusion summoning mechanic allows players to use face down monsters in order to fusion summon. However, what I failed to explain in detail is that that only applies to your own face down monsters. If you activate an effect such as Super Poly that allows you to fusion summon using an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster must meet the requirements while face up, because a face down monster is not considered public knowledge. Now, this applies even if the monster was set via the effect of something like Wendy, and you know what that card is. You as the player might know, but the game state does not recognize what that card is or what its stats are. So if you are the turn player and you are using your own monster, you can use it while set and the game will recognize its stats because you are using it for a fusion summon. But if you are attempting to use your opponent's monsters, you will not be allowed to fusion summon using your opponent's face down monsters, because you cannot verify what its stats are, what its name is, and stuff like that, specifically because while set it is not a public knowledge monster. So you do not know, even if you as the player do know, the game state does not recognize what the monster is or what the stats of the monster are and all that stuff. So you cannot use your opponent's face down monsters when using Super Poly or any fusion summoning effect that would use your opponent's monsters in that same way. Alright, so this next question comes to us by Jaden Cornish, and they ask, my opponent controls Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and fusion summons Frightfur Cruel Whale. Is it legal for them to use Cruel Whale's effect to destroy a card I control and destroy none of theirs by selecting Dragoon for destruction? So basically, because Cruel Whale doesn't target, they can legally select the Dragoon in order to destroy it and the card the opponent controls. In the case where they do this, the opponent's card will successfully be destroyed and the Dragoon will not be destroyed. The reason why this is legal is specifically because Cruel Whale does not verify like its effect legality by seeing if the card that it's attempting to destroy can be destroyed in the first place. All it does is it attempts to destroy 2 cards at the same time. So it still applies the part of its effect that says that it tries to destroy the card, and even though it does not do so successfully, it still applies a destruction to the 2 cards that it's attempting to destroy at the same time. So even though the Dragoon cannot be destroyed, it will still, the Cruel Whale will still apply the destruction effect to the Dragoon will simply not be destroyed, and the opponent's card will be destroyed. So yes, that is perfectly legal. You are allowed to attempt to destroy a monster or a card that cannot be destroyed on your side of the field via the effect of Cruel Whale and still destroy the opponent's card in the process. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have a ruling question from Philipo Pastorelli, and they ask, while Zephyr Path is face up on the field, can you summon Nibiru from the hand? So Zephyr Path is one of those weird floodgate cards. It only allows monsters to be special summoned from the hand or the extra deck. So we know that if Nibiru uses its effect, it does summon itself from the hand. However, in its effect, it also summons a token. Now, the thing is, the token is not something that you're legally allowed to summon under Zephyr Path, because the token is neither summoned from the hand nor from the extra deck. So in the situation where Zephyr Path is already face up on the field, you are not legally allowed to activate the effect of Nibiru the Primal Being, because you cannot fully resolve its effect at the moment at which you activate, because yes, you're allowed to summon the Nibiru from the hand, but you're not allowed to summon the token. So for that reason, the activation of Nibiru under Zephyr Path is considered illegal. You are not legally allowed to activate the effect of Nibiru while Zephyr Path is face up on the field. So anyways, guys, that was it for this week's episode of answering your ruling questions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave in the comments your ruling questions so I can go over them and answer them in a later video. So have a good one, guys. Peace out. Bye!